What's up, everyone? Eli here, back for a kind of a review video, I guess you could say it. I've been talking about doing reviews for, I don't know, a while now, and I got a stack of CDs here actually sent to me by a Polish label called Mythrone Productions. Mythrone Productions is a smaller label, kind of newer, who also works with a slightly bigger Polish label called Defense Records. So some of these albums are Defense Records releases. Some of them are Mythrone, or some of them are joint releases from Defense and from Mythrone. So, kind of embarrassed to admit I was actually sent these earlier this year, back in like January or February or something. But I had a lot going on in my life, earlier this year, and I just wasn't in the mood. I had been listening to these, off and on throughout the year, and man, I gotta say these are all really good releases. Really not only good albums but good products. Good physical products. Quality releases basically. I like, and honestly, I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't like any of these. I just wouldn't do this video. I'd feel like a dickhead, but I just wouldn't do this. I wouldn't promote something that I didn't like. That said, I'm going to start with the one out of all these that I like the least, and not that I think it's bad. I actually think it's very good. This one's just slightly not my cup of tea, as to where the rest of them are like totally my cup of tea. So this band is called Mastamay. Polish title, so obviously I won't be pronouncing that. Interesting cover art, right? To most of us metal, fans, that might not be something we would normally, buy if we just saw this in a store. But honestly, I think it's cool. Just as a piece of art in general. I mean, it's pretty, beautiful colors and everything. And it's a digipack. This came out in 2019. Polish band. They've been around. Let's see, I wrote some notes here. Formed in 2009. They had 2 demos and 2 full-length albums. So this is their newest album. These guys are kind of like a groove metal. They're really kind of an original sounding band. They don't really adhere to like one genre. And honestly, I can't pick out any bands that I could compare them to. They kind of really do their own thing. But I think groove metal and thrash would, kind of meet right in the middle. And when I say groove metal, they don't sound like Pantera. They don't sound like Machine Head. It is modern sounding metal. So if you're one of those people like me, I hate to say it, but when you hear the word modern in your metal, that kind of turns you away. This is probably not for you, and it's not really for me either. But I gotta say, I listened to this twice, and for what it is, it's a good album. If you like I said, I'm struggling to find something to compare it to. If you're not opposed to groove metal and you kind of like, modern sounding kind of thrashy groove metal, give it a shot. Like I said, if the word, modern turns you away, like it usually does for me, this might not be for you. However, like I said, I do think it's a really good album. Next, we're going to go to this one, honestly, not to blow my load prematurely, but I think this might be my favorite out of this entire stack. Really, really good album. I know that retro thrash thing from some years back got old, and it got old pretty quick. These guys are late to the game in that kind of genre, but it doesn't matter. These guys are awesome, and I'm talking about Infector. Thrash metal band, young looking dudes. These guys look like they're probably late teens, maybe early 20s. Band out of Cuba, actually. I couldn't find any information saying when they formed, probably within the last couple of years. This is the only thing they've done. 2019 release, Let the Infection Begin. If I didn't show that, I think I did. Man, yeah. Retro sounding thrash. Honestly, at its finest. I like this album more than 95% of those, retro thrash albums that I was, kind of talking about. Dude, these guys are awesome. If you like Municipal Waste, if you like Toxic Holocaust, and I could name probably 20 or 30 of those, thrash kind of retro thrash bands. But I think these guys are as good or better than most of them. Like I said, I named Municipal Waste. I actually like this album more than most Municipal Waste stuff that I've heard. Really good album. Clearly, I don't have any jewel cases for these yet, but I'll show you everything at least. Infector, Let the Infection Begin. If you like thrash, if you like old school thrash, definitely look into this one. Young guys, but they clearly have done their homework, and it's a killer album. Moving on to another Polish band called Sandbreaker. Sandbreaker formed, they're a fairly new band as well. It formed like within the last couple years. This is their 2019 EP. They've since put out a full-length album this year that I really want to hear, because this is a good EP. I'll show you the cover there. So I show that, and you might already be getting the idea. They use the movie Dune, or the book, I should say. Calling it a movie is kind of a injustice, but the book Dune. So all their lyrics are kind of Dune related. I haven't read Dune. I've seen some of the movies. They're not very good, but I've heard the book is amazing. Or the book series, I should say. I think I have the first book. Haven't read it yet, but yeah, there you go. There's the CD, and you're probably like, dude, what do they sound like? So what Sandbreaker sound like... Oh, wait till you see this, by the way. Wait to see the back. Nice little homage to Death's Leprosy. Check that out. Pretty fucking cool, huh? So what Sandbreaker sound like are kind of like a doom death metal band, but kind of replace the doom with I guess like stoner metal or stoner doom, I guess you could say. More akin to if you like Acid Witch. These guys sound more like a deserty version of Acid Witch. Really good stuff. When I don't like the term. First of all, I just don't like the term in general, but stoner metal or stoner doom. Basically, it's doom death, but with those kind of groovy, rocky, guitar riffs that you would get from a stoner doom album. So I guess if you could, picture some kind of stoner doom mixed with old school death metal, I guess that's kind of what you'd get here. It's not a long EP, as EPs usually aren't very long. That's why I really want to hear their full-length album from this year, because I want to see where they, what direction they went in. Because this is a really good EP. Great vocals, great riffs. These guys are good musicians. As actually, all these bands I'm showing are just comprised of fantastic musicians. There's no sloppy amateurish, shit going on here. Yeah, I think the vocals are probably my favorite part. Super deep, just like I like it. But yeah, great riffs, good solos, good drumming. Everything here is good. I'm a big fan of doom death, anyways. So this, I found this one pretty easy for me to get into, and like I said, I liked it enough that I actually want to pick up their album from this year. I plan on doing that eventually. Moving on to this is kind of a cult Russian thrash band, actually. Not a cult, but a cult band. These guys formed in '88, and they actually have a handful of albums. This album is called Mystic. Clearly, I don't read Russian, as most of you don't. I know one guy that might, though. But the name does translate to Iron Stream in English, which is kind of cool. This is their 6th album. Technically, it's their 7th release, but I'm going to just say that it's their 6th album, because this came out in 2020, but originally came out in 2018. This is the English. This was re-recorded in English, as to where the original version in 2018 was recorded in Russian. So yeah, these guys, their albums go all the way back to '91, and their first couple albums seem to have a quite a kind of a cult following. Those albums are pretty obscure, probably pretty hard to find. I haven't heard them. I just dug around a little bit. I honestly, I wasn't familiar with this band before this was sent to me. So it was kind of cool to research it, and wow, these guys go back, these guys go back 30 years, and they actually have a, quite a rabid following. A lot of people kind of compared their earlier stuff to like basically the Russian version of like Metallica, kind of a combination of Metallica and Slayer. And I would agree with that. This album is pretty fantastic. It does kind of have some of those downfalls of like, you know, the older classic bands, you know, like Testament and Exodus and stuff like that. This kind of reminds me of, you know, it sounds like a modern album by a, you know, older classic band. That doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. And honestly, I enjoyed this probably more than I've enjoyed, you know, the current output from, you know, Creator, Testament, Exodus, stuff like that. I found this to be a little bit better. You know, you can definitely tell these guys have been a band for 30 years. You know, they're all, you know, musicianship-wise, these guys are all on top of their game. Shredding solos, you know, catchy thrash riffs, you know, tight, fast drumming. Yeah, these guys are fantastic musicians. You know, you can tell they've been, you can tell they're veterans of, you know, of the scene. So, yeah, man, if you like thrash metal, if you like, I'd be curious to see actually how many of you guys have actually heard this band before, especially like the early stuff. They got an album in '88, or not '88. They got an album in '91, and then they had a couple albums throughout the '90s. So they were a little late to the game. You know, they might have been bigger had they started, you know, maybe 6 years earlier. But yeah, I'd be curious. Like I said, I hadn't heard of them before, so I'd be curious to see who has. I remember texting my buddy Aaron, metal theologian, and asked him if he, you know, was familiar with this band, and of course he was. I think he might own their first album. I can't remember, but either way, he was familiar with them. So that kind of goes to show you. I'm kind of wondering maybe Scott Waters. I might send him a message. Scott and I aren't friends or anything. We don't know each other real well. Just, you know, we've communicated a little bit like on Facebook and stuff. But I'd be curious to see if Scott knew of this band. I'd almost be surprised if he hadn't, but then not completely. Because, I mean, in the U.S., I think that band is pretty obscure. But, yeah, good thrash metal, good veteran thrash metal. Absolutely worth a listen and even worth a purchase. I can say, you know, like I said, I'm not doing this video just because I feel obligated to. I don't know really quite how to say it. I do feel obligated to do the video, you know, because somebody sent me things, and I don't want that. I don't want to be the guy that's just out there trying to score free shit. But like I said, I would not do this video if I didn't like these albums. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm too incapable of, you know, being fake, and I just wouldn't be able to do it. Honestly, I'd probably send them back. I wouldn't be able to do it. So, I mean, I do like all of these albums, some a little more than others, but they're all quality, as you can see, and hopefully as you can hear if you look into it. I'll try to leave links, but I'm an asshole, and I almost never leave links, so I'm at least providing you with enough information for you to go do your own homework. But so this next band is also a veteran band that I wasn't familiar with. Another Polish band, Neolith, with the album I Am the Way. Now, just by looking at that and knowing that they're from Poland, I think you're already getting an idea of what this probably sounds like. And yes, you're correct. It does sound like that. These guys have been around a long time. You know, they formed in '91, and they have, you know, they got a handful of full lengths and demos and EPs and stuff. I want to say their first album is from '91 or '92 or something like that. I haven't heard it. This is another band that I was not familiar with. Did I show the tray thing yet? Another band that I wasn't familiar with, and yes, they do play kind of a, I don't really want to call it black death metal. They do sound like, you know, the other Polish bands. They do sound like Hate and, you know, maybe mid-era to later Behemoth, but these guys are more, I wouldn't say there's much black metal influence, if any, actually. They're more of a straight death metal band, but they do play that, you know, sound, that kind of Egyptian, you know, sounding death metal. Another band that comes to mind would be the Canadian band, shit, There's a Canadian band that does that whole, you know, kind of behemoth worship thing as well, and I can't remember their name. I saw them open for Vital Remains once. Not my cup of tea. Is it Necronomicon? Yeah, Necronomicon. That'd be a really good comparison for this band as well. But as would, you know, like I said, Hate, Behemoth. There might be a little bit of Vader in there as well, because every band from Poland that formed after Vader kind of sounds like Vader. Not in a bad way, but this is a good album. You know, I'm not really into any of those bands I just mentioned except for Vader. I used to be a big Behemoth fan. I really got kind of bored of their music. But if you like that stuff, if you like, you know, like I said, Necronomicon from Canada, if you like, wow, look at this band photo, by the way. It's cool. You know, if you like, you know, all eras of Behemoth, especially their later stuff, you like Hate, you know, stuff like that. I think this is very much for you. I think you would like it. It's very well done. You know, these guys are again, they're a veteran band. They've been musicians for 30 years. You know, they know how to play. You know, there's good riffs here. The vocals are awesome. The drumming is amazing. You know, these guys are a pro band. They're very good at what they do. It's just got to be your thing. And like I said, it's not quite mine, but I listened to this a couple times and I enjoyed it for what it was. All right, I got a couple more here for you. This is going to be a band out of Lithuania, forming in, consulting my notes again. Sorry, there's no way I was going to remember all this. Formed in 2008. This album, or I think this is an EP. No, I think it's an album. Anyways, I don't remember. This came out last year, 2019. Regressive with Born in the Grave. Kind of cool cover art, you know, nice, you know, homage to 80s, you know, slasher movies and stuff like that. There's the fellas in the band. Kind of a simple layout, but effective. There's the CD and the inlay. So, what do Aggressive sound like? Or, not Regressive, what do Regressive sound like? They are a kind of like a black speed metal. Very much in the vein of Midnight, you know, so of course they're taking influence from Motorhead, they're taking influence from Venom, very Venom and very Motorhead. But I think these guys, as to where Midnight was, you know, definitely drawing from Venom and Motorhead, these guys are too, but these guys are very much also drawing from Midnight, who have been around longer. Although these guys have been around since 2008, so I mean, 12 years, not as long as Midnight, but still, you know, they're not a brand new band. You know, they got a couple albums, or maybe not albums, couple releases under their belt before this one, but even still, you know, they'd been a band for 11 years by the time this came out, and it shows. You know, these guys are, you know, proficient musicians. You know, there's a great bass, a lot of bass going on, very bass heavy, bass driven. You know, just like Motorhead and Venom. You know, just good speed metal. When I say black speed metal, it's more black speed metal, in, you know, like Midnight. Not a lot of black metal influences. You know, if you were to clean up the vocals, I don't think there's any black metal influence to be found. It's all in the vocals. Yeah, the music is pure speed metal, pure 80s, you know, pure 80s speed metal. But yeah, great musicians, good riffs, you know, good solos, good drumming, and like I said, the bass is awesome. Bass driven, just like, you know, kind of like Motorhead. You know, the bass player, there's some bass solos. So if you're a bass guy, you know, I think this would be up your alley. If you're a speed metal guy, definitely up your alley. You know, if you love stuff like, you know, like I said, Midnight, or what's that Scottish band that people are kind of digging on right now? Something Ripper. You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. I can't remember, but a lot of people are digging that. So if you like stuff like that, I think give Regressive a shot, and I think you might like it. And we're gonna move on to the last album here. This is a split, which was cool. A couple of bands out of Brazil. Two more bands that I was not familiar with. I wasn't familiar with any of these bands. So this is a split between Macula and Extinction Remains. I'll show you the cool, interesting cover art there. Yeah, this one was cool. I like this album a lot. Both bands on this one not sounding very different from each other, which makes me wonder if they share some of the same band members. Now, Macula is they call themselves, at least according to their Bandcamp page, they call themselves a punk band, but they definitely don't sound like straight up punk. They're more, to me, this sounds like more like maybe punk mixed with like crust and death metal. I saw that punk tag, and they don't sound anything like I was expecting. So they've been around since 2010. You know, Extinction Remains formed in 2013. Extinction Remains are more of a doom death, more of like a crusty doom death band, which is right up my alley. I love doom death, but like I said, not a lot of there isn't much that divides the songs between these two bands. Like I said, it makes me wonder if they share some of the same members, but really good stuff. I guess you could say I probably prefer the Extinction Remains stuff, because I'm way more of a doom death fan than I am like a crust punk type band. But you know, Macula are so much more than that. Extinction Remains had a EP out, I want to say a couple years ago or something like that. I really actually want to track that down. I can never get enough doom death stuff, so I'm always looking for more bands of that vein. So yeah, man, nice stack of stuff here. Almost all of these bands I like enough to want to track down their other albums. It was just a nice surprise, a nice refreshing surprise. It was cool that I hadn't heard of any of these bands, because it introduced me to just a shitload of stuff that I wasn't familiar with, and maybe I wouldn't have been familiar with if I hadn't got this package. So big thanks to I think the guy's name is Marcin, which is a really common Polish name. I've talked to a couple Marcins over the years online. So Marcin from Poland, from Mythrone Productions. Definitely really thankful for him sending me these. If I'm gonna do reviews, I don't want to sound like a guy that's just out there trying to get free shit. But I'm not going to do a review of a digital promo. I'm not. I would do a written review of digital promo, and I've done that a lot in the past. I used to have a blog, and that's all good and that's fun. But YouTube is a more visual thing. I guess I could learn to like put a little picture of it on the screen or something like that. But I don't want to do that. If I'm going to review an album, I want to show you the album. I want you to see what it looks like and stuff like that. So, it was really cool of him sending me these. Overseas shipping is expensive. He probably had to spend at least 20 or 30 euros or whatever to get these over to me. So, I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, you guys, I think, should look into these bands and let me know what you think. Or if you've already, heard some of these bands, any of their material, let me know what you think as well. Because, like I said, it was all new to me, and I'm curious to see if any of you guys had known already. I'll admit I've kind of fallen behind the last couple years in new releases and newer bands, and I've kind of slacked on that a little bit. So this is kind of a step forward to fix that. So, anyways, let's talk about this stuff. Let me know what you think. Thanks for stopping by, and we will talk soon. Cheers.